Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Krista Escamilla Show. I thank you for your time, and we appreciate you being with us wherever you're at, traveling in your car or watching at home or in the office when you're supposed to be working. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to these great stories that we get to share here. I want to thank our sponsors first and foremost. So a big shout out to, first of all, Kevin Foreman of Foreman Financial, to Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, Thin FR, Omni Midland Hotel, and joincapclub.com. We appreciate you supporting our show, and we appreciate all of you listening to support your local businesses however you can. Speaking of someone who has supported local his entire career, I am so honored to welcome today's guest and excited to hear his story. Please welcome to our show today, Grant Billingsley. He is the president and CEO of Scharbauer Foundation for a little bit longer. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And that just touches the surface. First and foremost, you are a father and husband. You are also a lifelong, really just local advocate. And so I cannot wait to hear your story and all of the things that you've done from Midland Chamber to Wagner and Brown and to the great Scharbauer Foundation that you were there at the inception. So first of all, how did you get to West Texas? That is the most important question. How did you get here?
After I graduated, I graduated from University of Oklahoma in spring of 1975. Wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was encouraged to explore the Chamber of Commerce because my degree was in journalism and public relations, and the jobs I found mostly were writing, and that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so they said, talk to the Chambers of Commerce and find out what they do. So I went and I talked to them, and they said, explain to me how chambers work, and it sounded interesting, sounded like a lot of different things, a lot of different people. And so I was encouraged, and I got to go to an institute and learn about how chambers operate. I went and did that. And I used that week at this Chamber Institute to meet everyone there, introduced myself, because my job was to find a job. Right. And so I met every person there, and that was the middle of July after I graduated in May. And by the 1st of August, I had a call from the Midland Chamber of Commerce about a job with their staff here to become the public relations director. And by the end of August, I was here.
Wow. So you made an impression when you were introducing yourself to everyone.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was a great deal. I moved here from Tulsa. I grew up in Tulsa. Turned out there were a lot of family friends and friends from our church who lived here. So I knew people when I got here, but not many. And so it was an interesting thing.
That's fantastic. I love that. And such a, testament to, hey, you've got to just go out there and meet people, right? No matter what you're going into, just go say hi, because you never know where it's going to lead to. So that job led to, and you were at the chamber for many years.
I was there for 11 years. I started as the PR director. I became the first manager of economic development for the Chamber of Commerce. Then I became the general manager. Then I became what was then the executive vice president. Now that position is the president. So I was the president of the chamber for 3 years. The last 3 years I was there, from 83 to 86.
And then from there, you went and switched to the nonprofit field. Is that correct?
No.
Okay. Then you went to oil and gas.
Went to work for Wagner Brown, an independent oil and gas company, headquartered here. Wagner Brown doesn't operate any longer here. It was a partnership between two great men, Cy Wagner and Jack Brown. Two very different guys, but had a lasting partnership built on a handshake that did so many things, and I got to be involved in so many projects, both in Midland, a lot in Austin. Big part of my job was in Austin, working on things of importance to the company, but also for the community. And that just opened a lot of doors and huge amount of contacts and friends that I developed over the years in Austin as well as here. And so it was a wonderful job.
And you were there 25 years.
I was there 25 years. Right.
And what did you learn the most from them? Because you said, for those of you watching Landman, we kind of talked about it a minute ago. Those of you watching Landman, a handshake. I mean, that is the deal. That is, and when you think of West Texas, that's how it was built.
That's how it was built.
On your word.
On one's word. I'm not sure how much it's like that still today, but back in those days and coming out of the 60s and 70s through into the 80s, there was still a lot of needing to do business with people you knew and you trusted, and you could count on them. And Mr. Wagner and Mr. Brown were two of those type of guys, and it was a wonderful opportunity to work for them and do things in Austin and here.
That's pretty incredible. Did they ever give you a piece of advice that you still listen, kind of learned from them and hang on to this day?
I learned so much from them. I'm trying to think one nugget of advice that they gave. I learned so much from them just watching how they worked. I remember Mr. Brown told me one time, this is not advice, he just said, I told him one time about mowing the grass, mowing my yard. And he said, that was one of the first things I stopped doing when I could. and I thought, well, pay attention to that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So eventually I was able to not have to mow my grass.
To take that advice.
I still had to do a lot of things. Still do. But,
Fran still had a honey-do list, I'm sure, a mile long.
That was just one of those things that one day he just made me laugh.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Well, I know those are good times. And through that, you mentioned that you did a lot of work in Austin. You were also on some pretty big boards in Austin through the years.
Over the years, working for Mr. Wagner and Mr. Brown, it was not a big corporate entity. It was a partnership, and they had things they wanted us to achieve for Wagner and Brown. They also had some things they wanted to achieve for oil and gas, and so they put us, Wagner and Brown, me, in a position to work with some of the biggest companies in the world, and I was fortunate enough to lead some initiatives, regulatory and legislative, in Austin a few years, working with companies like Exxon and Chevron and Conoco and Texaco. And so it was great. And to come from to work for the really smaller company, it was a great learning experience for me to work with these huge organizations and how we could, that was a learning experience for me on how to collaborate with entities that are not the same, and how do you get past barriers in culture and communications, but when you have a single purpose, usually in profit driven, how do you get to that? And so that was a great learning experience on working with people coming from different aspects in the same industry.
I love that you mentioned that, because I think collaborations are so key in today's world, and were back then, but they weren't talked about as much back then. And so what could you share with us, like that? What did you learn during that time that really has been profound in helping you? Because I know you have been instrumental in some amazing projects here in West Texas.
I think it is, and that's how you get things done. Yeah. I was just at a group the other day, and I was talking about a lot of different projects, and I said, none of these things get done generally by one person. It generally, that's rare. That's rare for one person, one company to just do something. Now, big companies can do some of that, but generally you have to do something, and you have to do something and work together. And when you're working on something around the legislature, around the state capitol, you have to have a group. You need to have a group, because you have to touch a lot of people. There are 150 House members and 31 senators. And so you've got to be able to touch a lot of bases and strike a lot of nerves in order to get things passed. In the legislative process, it's generally easy to kill something, to stop something from happening, but making something happen is a different story. And so you've got to have a lot of people pulling in the same direction. And so it's just finding out what you have in common. Where do you agree? Where do you agree first? Let's figure out what we agree on first, and then how do we get there?
Drop mic. What he just said right there. that is so key. And if you don't know Grant is one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet. I just want to say I love what you just said, because that is the hard part, is what do you agree on? Because I think people go, and you know me, I'm like Miss Ultra. If I could have a big positive sign above my head, I'd be like, let's look for the positive and the good in this first. But people don't always do that. So I love that you said that. Go to where you agree first. And then work from there.
Right. And
that's amazing.
It just makes things work so much easier. And collaboration is how, like I said, how things get done, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's just hard. And once you get past the easy stuff, once you get past things, well, we want Midland to be a better place, or we want our schools to be better, or we want our kids to perform better or be able to do better. When you get in the how, when you get into tactics and strategies, it gets complicated.
Yeah.
And I told somebody in one talk I gave about collaboration, I said, collaboration is not, how about let's do it my way?
Right.
Because that's where a lot of times it starts. He said, yeah, let's collaborate. Why don't we do it my way? And that's not how it works.
And as you know, great things happen with collaboration. So you're not going to be able to just do it your way, because that's 20, 30, 40 people that want to do it their way.
That's right. That's right.
So if you had, looking back during that time, and we'll get to your current, but looking back to that time, what did you learn? Was there a big mistake made? Was there a big one where it didn't go that way that you went, now I know for the next time? Working around the legislature, it was the greatest sort of laboratory in trying to make difficult things happen, because usually there are people working against you, and not just the forces of nature or situations. There are people actually telling the other story, sometimes not telling the other true story, but it's part of what you have to deal with. And so the most important thing I learned was the absolutely critical importance of communicating, and you have to overdo it, and it gets tiring, and it gets repetitive sometimes for people, but just communicating. Why am I here? What are we trying to do? What am I telling you? Can you believe me? Is there evidence to support what I'm talking about? All sorts of communication. It's just about communicating, and then it turns into trust. Can people trust you? Can they rely on you? Are you going to do what you say? But it all starts with communicating what the purpose is and how you're going to go about your business. I love that. And see, look, that journalism degree paid off, because that's about communication. And
it starts with writing, and for me, it starts with writing, and that has been for me probably the single strongest the base from which I operate, because when I for example when there's a pitch to be made, you make pitches all the time. Right. When I'm going to make a pitch, or you're going to try to get the project started, I have to think through, what is it that I'm going to say, and not just what am I going to say, what are the words, what are the exact words that need to be said that give a concise but clear message about what you want to get done, that try to get people inspired to participate. So, and for me, that means starting with a sheet of paper and getting the words down.
Words matter.
They do.
They do.
They do.
We're gonna transition into the Scharbauer Foundation in just a minute, but first we do something called Quote of the Day, Grant. So you get to pick out a random, just a random card, read it, and then tell me what that quote means to you. So you got the creative card. Awesome. So go ahead and flip it over. And what does it say?
It says, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." That's from Benjamin Franklin.
Awesome. What does that mean to you? It's a great quote.
What that says to me is when I need to, and I have the opportunity to instruct someone or to show them how to do it, my automatic tendency is to do it myself, because I know how to do it. I can do it faster. I can do it the way I like it, and so just here, let me
do
why
it.
don't you just step outside
Yeah.
and I'll just do this. And but you can't. You've got to let them do it. And
Yes.
and to me, this is involved me, meaning, why don't you write that? Why don't you write that? And then let's talk about it. And let's talk about how you can tighten it up, how you can make it stronger, how you can make it more persuasive. And
Yes.
so that's what that tells me. This is like pointing out a failure of mine. This is what this talks about to me is this Grant, like right here, you need to pay attention to
That's
this
funny.
and do more of that.
Well, and I think it's because good leaders delegate, right? But it's hard because when you're a leader, when you're a leader, you just want to do it yourself because you're leading. And so looking back over my years of good leaders, I think, oh yeah, they did delegate. And you're right. It's a weakness of mine too, because especially around the house, I'll go, oh, I'll just do it myself. When I should make the kids put the dishes away, right, Al? That's right. He's like looking at me going, you should.
But that sounds like a conversation. That sounds like a conversation, though, where you're doing it to teach them something.
Right.
And that's valid and that's important. But what it really does is how much more you can get done.
Yes.
How much more can get accomplished if you got 4 sets of arms and legs working rather than just one.
Yep. That was our conversation the other day at Thanksgiving. Look how fast we got those dishes put
Yes,
away.
it just goes a lot faster. And once you've involved them and they know how to do it, you don't worry about that.
That's
it gets
right.
done faster and you move down the road. So,
I love that.
So it's not always just teaching them a lesson. It's getting how you get things
Yes,
done.
get things done. I love that. Is there a quote that you've lived by through the years that really kind of stands out in your mind?
Somebody told me you were going to ask that.
See, I did warn you about
So,
that. I
okay,
said,
well-
he said, did you know, are you going to give me the questions ahead of time? I said, no, it's a conversation, except for I will ask you a quote of the day.
I was the thing so when I was warned about that, I had a friend tell me the other day that I'd told him something and he said he'd never forgotten it. I said, well, what was that? Because I can't. It's hard to imagine I said anything that's memorable.
Oh,
But
you say lots of things that are memorable.
But this one was, I told him, I said, one of the things that I've heard that I believe is true is that when you're dealing with complex issues, the people with the quickest and easiest answers come from the people who understand the problem the least. Generally.
Okay. I love
I
that.
mean, when you're dealing with something really complex, really
Yes.
hard, those who say, well, that's not here's how you do that, blah, blah, blah. And then they don't
No.
seem to grasp all the nuance. Anyway.
I love
that's
that.
Just,
That is true. And then the
it's
people
true,
that
yeah.
ask good questions may know it the least. And that's where you get to learn a lot from those good questions. Or so good.
figure it out. So that's just something I don't know that I live by it, but I found it to be true.
Found it to be true. I
found it
love
to be
that.
true.
We will call these Grant's truisms.
There aren't many of
I
them.
love it. I love
many
it.
of them.
Let's talk about the Scharbauer Foundation because when I think of major wonderful things that have happened in West Texas, Wagner Noel, the auditorium. I think of Grant, and Grant's going, why are you saying that? But I do. I think of you. But that's just one of many. Let's talk about the incredible things that you've done through Scharbauer Foundation, and then I want to hear your take on your favorite that you've seen accomplished through the years.
So what would you like first?
Let's talk about Scharbauer Foundation because you were there from day one,
Right.
inception.
Correct.
So let's go day one. How did this happen? How did you get involved?
When I came here in '75, I'm working with the chamber. I've got to meet a lot of people over the years and through that job, and that's how I have. It's amazing to have been here that long and know these people. But I knew that that Mr. Scharbauer, Clarence Jr. had created a foundation, but I was told that they were about to get set up and get running, and a friend of mine told me, he said, Grant, you should really look into that. That would just fit you really good. And I thought, okay, well, let me think about it. And I thought about it, and I was still enjoying my work at Wagner Brown and having a great job there. And then one night, this may sound weird to people, but one night I was asleep and it woke me up, and it was like a voice in my head that said, "What are you doing? You've had this idea in your head, when are you going to get off your behind and do something about this and find out about it? So the next day I called Clarence Scharbauer III and I said, could we talk? And he said, sure. And we got to have lunch together. He thought I was going to ask him to support me, and I was going to run for office or something. And
which you would have been good at, by the way.
No, well, thanks, but no. And we talked to him, and I just told him, I said, if you're going to get this foundation going, I'd be curious if there's a place for me in that. I'd be interested in that. Maybe just in finding out about it. He looked at me. He said, "Are you kidding?" And I said, "No, I'm not kidding. I'm as serious as I can be." And he said, "Oh, wow, okay." And so that was like in March of 2011, and we agreed that's what I was going to do. I needed to finish the legislative session, working around that. And so by June 1st, we were gone, and we started we got the started foundation. He was on the board. Mr. Scharbauer Jr. was on the board. Jim Alsop was on the board. The three of them. I went to work for them. They said, "Here's the phone number. Here's the minutes we've elected ourselves. This is about all we've done. And there's some money in the bank. You go figure
this out.
Figure the rest of the deal out. Figure the rest of this out." And so that's what we did.
What an amazing opportunity.
Oh.
And I want to go back to you listening to your gut too, because when something wakes you up at night, there's a reason, and you should listen to that reason. And
That's
if
right.
you hadn't, and then the second thing I learned from what you just said, and this is something my husband always says, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Exactly.
So if what does it hurt to ask and just say, hey, I would love a spot here if there's a spot for me? Because if you don't ask those questions, you're never going to know.
You'll never know.
I love that. That is so wonderful. And from the start, I heard that there was, just one person, right? You? Is that
Right.
correct? Okay, so it started with just one person, and now it has grown to be, there's more. How did you get it with no roadmap? You'd never done nonprofit, right, or foundation work. What was that like for you in the beginning? Were you nervous? Were you excited? What were your thoughts? Greg?
Oh, I was just hyped up, and because it was all new. But I'd already learned in my career that for me, I'd always just figured out that it's easier to copy somebody that's done something well than to try to create a new template for something that you don't even know how it works.
Right.
There were plenty of people in Midland, particularly with my first calls and to friends about how do you do this? What do you do? Pretty soon I began reaching out beyond Midland and finding out everybody was willing to share and guide me, and the ideas started coming, and it just all came together very quickly.
Just ask questions.
Just ask questions and then have the energy to do it. I think now about how much energy I had back then and what I have now, and I'm glad I had it then. Because I don't have it so much now.
I understand that. I understand. Well, I'm so glad you had that energy and that you have really just made some amazing things happen here in West Texas. Let's talk about some of your favorites, some of the highlights. I'd mentioned earlier, Wagner Noel, and I know you were instrumental in that. Let's talk about that and whatever else you want to talk about. Just the highlights that you think you're most proud of.
The Wagner Noel project was one of the. I told Speaker Craddock last night at an event that I told him that it was one of the most fun projects I've ever worked on, and it was one that I took with considerable trepidation. He asked me to co-chair a committee, and we needed to put together leaders from both Midland and Odessa, and we needed to come up with a plan. We were going to, and he was Speaker of the House at the time, and he told me what he was going to do and how it was going to work, and we needed to bring this thing together and fulfill a vision that had been on the community's wish list since the 70s.
Wow!
When I arrived in '75, it was already on the community's wish list, which is called Objectives for the 70s or Objectives for the 80s or whatever, every decade.
Right.
And so it had been on the wish list for, 4 years? And I by the time, because we really got to work putting it on the ground, putting the plan in place starting in 2005.
Wow.
So from So from 1970s to 2005, all our two communities had been able to do is talk about it and never been able to achieve it. And he, in his role as speaker, was able to get some state assistance available, but they required that we raise some local money, and we had to do that, and that was fine. But it was, again, one of those things that, and this is one of the things that I've learned. I'll give you one more things that I've learned, and that is, if you can ever in a project, if you can get people just to believe that it can happen, that it might happen, that sometimes projects are so encumbered and so made to think so difficult because of the money. Often it's the money.
Right.
But
it takes a lot of money.
It takes a lot of money for a lot of projects.
Right.
But if you can ever get them to think, you know what, that might actually work. And that project was exactly the way that was. When the state was willing to give UTPB $45 million to build a center, a convocation center that could be a convention or a meeting, a venue, a performance venue, that made it all possible. And then all of a sudden, then we needed private money. And so the first major money that was given, the money that really sort of tipped the edge and really got things going, was when the two families, I worked for one of them. I worked for Mr. Wagner, and I thank and still praise him. I praise his widow is Alyssa Wagner, still lives in Midland, and Alyssa is a Noel from Odessa, and so they were a family together. One from Midland, one from Odessa, and
which makes sense to have
and
the
so
Wagner Noel.
I went to them and said, would you all give the lead gift to get this project started? And they said yes. And all of a sudden, when we had matching lead gifts
Right.
from two well-known, well-respected families in the two communities, the rest of it just came
People
by
just
a matter
started-
of asking.
People just
All it
started
took was
pouring
asking.
in.
We put together, the whole team, the committee put together a complete program of how it works, what you can do. It was so much fun, and it all came together in very quickly. And now that is an example. I think the Wagner Noel has exceeded everyone's expectations of what it can be and how it serves the community. I don't think any of us had any concept of what it would be.
I agree with you. Just from an outsider looking in, I just thought, there's going to be performances here. It's going to be great. I did not realize how amazing at the time. I mean, the amount of world-class performers that we've had come in, but also being utilized locally too by dance studios and by Colin Sewell with the Sewell Leadership. I mean, I could go on and on about the amazing events that have been put on there that I didn't even realize. You're right. That I never thought about it until you said it.
And I don't go to, this is an odd thing. I'm not a big symphony attender, but and that was what we thought maybe. Broadway had never been because I'd been and been out of town and been to New York, but not here. But when you go, even the times that I go, how often the performers say, "This is an amazing place."
They do. You're right.
They just rave about the facility. And
I remember Kristen Chenoweth saying that, how impressed she was by the Wagner Noel.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. And then but when you said that, it made me think of Broadway in the Basin also uses it, correct? And I've seen some of those performances. They're amazing. I mean, the talent that we get in, and then the facility itself is just beautiful. So a big thank you for being one of the major collaborators to get it to happen. I don't see, again, he's humble. He's like, just like he said last night when I saw Tom Craddock at an event, and I'm like, it was your event. He just had an event. He has a day, Grant Billingsley Day, because you have done so many amazing things. But I love the humbleness of you, because you do really, you really feel like you're just getting all the people together. Yeah. And when you have that common goal, it makes it easier for things to get done. But how many years did it take to go from, hey, let's build this auditorium, to getting it done? Because I want people to realize the efforts that went in here.
Well, we started the plan. There was a special session of the legislature in 2005, and it opened on November 1st of 2011.
Wow. So
6 years.
well, yeah,
Nearly
6 years.
6 years.
6 years, but it can happen. So if you have, if you have something you want that's in your heart, you can get it done. If it takes 6 years, great. If it takes 2, if it takes 20,
It just took $80 million.
it just took $80 million. Yeah, which that too, which we all have, right? Yeah. But I'm just so grateful that so many people felt that it was so needed because it is just a gem in our community. What's another project that you're proud of? Because I know you have many.
Centennial Park.
Yes.
Proud of Centennial Park, and that was not the first piece in trying to energize downtown Midland when the decision was made by the city to replace the Midland Center, with the Bush Convention Center. Most people don't know this because they weren't here, but I was, and the Midland Center was a redo, and we had tried that in Midland before. That was a cost-efficient way of doing things. We had renovated the airport one time before we have the airport that we enjoy now. We had renovated the prior airport. There was an airport
That was
on the
renovated?
same site. Yeah.
When I saw it in 1998, that had already been renovated. Yeah.
Now, is the one you're thinking about different than? Yes, that was a renovation.
That was a renovation.
And that didn't last very long.
No.
It didn't last very long, and it wasn't very great. But so we've learned 2 times on we're doing the Midland Center and the airport, that when you're doing something like those things for the community, that are fundamental sort of services for the community, you're probably better off just to start new,
Right.
and do it right.
Right.
And that's what we've done. That's what the city council did with I think the city council did with the Bush Convention Center. That's what they did with the airport when they decided to build the airport the way. That's what they've done. That's what was done with the became the Scharbauer Sports Complex, and doing the right. So you can look at those things, and now Centennial Park just builds on that. And now the next piece in this is going to be the hotel.
Yes.
Be another hotel.
And that's going to be fantastic.
It is
I
going to be
cannot wait for it all to come together because for those of us who have been here a long time, and I got here in 98, I remember back then downtown was a focus, right? It was like, we need to revitalize downtown. And to now see it getting done, it's just amazing and something we've needed for a long time.
I went, I don't know if you went or if you've been by the Christmas, the Merry Lights display.
It's gorgeous.
Our daughter was in town, and she said, "I'm going to go to the tree lighting. You going to go?" I said, "What?" And she goes, "I'm going to go to the tree lighting." I said, "Okay, I'll go with you." And so we went, and we got over there. We walked over there between 5:30 and 6, getting dark, and the tree lighting was going to be at 6:25, and there were so many people there. And I loved just walking in the park and seeing how many families and kids in strollers, kids in wagons, just there to
watch the tree lighting.
be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was not always the case, because I used to, when I was in the news, we would be a part of the tree lighting and MC it a lot. And there were times when there wasn't a lot of people there years ago.
Well, and they used to do it at Wadley Barron Park.
Right.
That was the event. Well, and so, but it was magnificent.
Yes.
Tuesday night, was it Tuesday night? I guess it was.
Yes.
Tuesday night. And the lights, the additional lights that the city of Midland provided, that are now down there, are a huge upgrade from what we had last year.
Yes.
Just an enormous upgrade. And I would just encourage anybody just to, if you're out one evening after dark, just drive downtown and see it. It's something worth going down to see.
I agree. One of our favorites since Centennial Park was redone, go pick up pizza or sandwiches or make them at home, whatever you want to, and go to those picnic tables down there. We picked up some Pie Social pizzas, and we just had all the family out there one night that was just beautiful. This was last year, and I thought, this is what this is about, utilizing our park. I mean, just being out here outside, it was gorgeous.
Right.
Families out there playing, and balls, they're playing football, they're soccer, whatever it is.
Right.
And they're just having a good time together. That's what it's about. And that was not the case, as we all know. It was not utilized like that before. No. So thank you. I'm so glad that you mentioned that one, because that one is one that stands out in my mind 100%. We're going to do something called Question of the Day.
Oh, gosh.
He's like, I didn't know about this one. I saw your eyes light up there, Grant. So just pick one out, see what the question is, you answer it. All right. You got the sparkle card. Yes, I love it. Can you read my writing? Sorry.
What? Yeah, I can read it. What is one skill you wish you could learn, and why?
Ooh, I love that.
Well, I could say golf. I could say I wish I could learn
But
how
you
to play
are a
golf.
golfer.
Yeah, but I'm not very good. I'm not as good as I want to be. But
Says every golfer.
But what I really wish I was more technologically capable.
Yeah.
But I've gotten to the point. In my career where, in my life, I think where people say, "Let me show you." They'll say, "Let me show you how to do it," and I go, "No, I don't want to know how to do it."
You're like,
I don't want to know how to do
I'm good.
that.
You just go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
hey, that's good time to delegate, Grant.
That's right. But it would be. I wish I was more technologically capable, and I'm curious. I've told my wife. I said, I'm curious what is going to be, and it's probably not far off. It might happen when I leave here. What is going to be the technology that I just cannot do?
Right.
That I just can't.
You're like, that's it.
I can't do anything. I don't even know how to turn it on.
Right.
What is that going to be? And there's going to come. I mean,
there might come a day.
Oh,
yeah.
it's already coming. But that is
okay.
So being technologically capable would be something I could use.
That's what kids and grandkids are for. That they can go, oh look, it's boom, 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 boom. I'm like, yeah, well, you did it that fast. I can't do it like that. Right. How did you do that?
That's right.
But I get that on a lot of levels. I want to ask you because. Midland has been so important to you, and you have done so much to change the landscape of Midland through your years. What was your why? What was all these years? I know you're going. So for those that don't know, Grant is retiring this month, and we are so excited for you for this next phase. But what has been your why all these years?
Midland is it is a unique place. I think everybody thinks where they live is unique and special. But Midland, the entrepreneurial, independent nature of Midland makes most anything possible. And the type of resources that we have here, and I'm not talking about just money, I'm talking about the human resources, the people and their attitudes and their spirit make things possible here that aren't always possible everywhere. And so a lot of times it's just been a matter over my career of being here, has just been a matter of getting the right. I heard a story the other day. It said getting the right people on the bus.
Yeah.
And then getting them in the right seats on the bus, and then you can go where you want to go, and that's how Midland is. And so for me, as I've been here all this time and been in these fortunate to be in these positions where I've met so many people who care about the community, my job has just been to connect the dots. Sometimes all you need to do is say, you need to talk to this person over here,
right.
And here's how you do that. And once you start connecting those dots, you've got a bus full of people that want to get something done.
Right, they're going to the same place.
That's right.
I love it.
And so
love the bus analogy.
That is the why, is because it's so much is possible here. And going along with that in Midland, I would say the lesson that I learned from when I first moved here in '75. Our AA ball club was the Midland Cubs. Oh. And they played out at it was called Christensen Stadium. It's the stadium it's where Midland College plays now at Hogan Park. Right. And that was where they played. And I was fortunate enough to meet the two men who brought the Cubs to Midland, who bought the minor league team and brought them here. And I asked him one day, I said, what made you do that? I just came from Tulsa,
right.
Which is, at the time, it was a lot larger community than Midland, and still is. But I said, they had a AA ball team in Tulsa. And now I come down here, and a town of 65,000, and we've got a double A. How did you do that, and why did you do it? And one of them looked at me and he said, well, Grant, we can't wait on anybody. Nobody else is going to do it for us. If we want something, we got to just figure it out ourselves and do it. I mean, that still sticks with me today, here 50 years later.
Yes.
And so that has been the why is we can't wait for the cavalry to come. We can't wait for the government to solve it for us. And this community is just so full of can-do people
Yes.
that's why we can do it. So it's just a matter of getting in and getting with it.
I love
here,
that.
as opposed to some places where you just don't have that sort of opportunity.
Yeah, or people just don't get behind it in other
No.
communities like they do here. It
No.
truly is the best and most philanthropic community I've ever seen.
Yeah.
What are you hopeful for the future? When
gosh.
you look at Midland in the future, what would you, if you had a wish list, what would that look like for you?
First of all, I would say that this is the time. This is our time. There were times in the late 90s, right at the end of the 90s, that we weren't sure how much oil was going to be produced. And now when you find out we're the largest producing region in just about the world, and this is our time. And so what I see for the future is I see a younger community with more energy, with more passion for excellence and improvement, and an opportunity to make it happen. What my wish for the community is that our children could be in the best schools in the state.
I love
Because through what I've learned through economic development, through building in the community and the foundation work, is everything starts with education. Everything. It is, if there is a building has 4 cornerstones often, this is the first one. Education is the first one. It is the absolute foundation for growth and prosperity and success. If you can't read, if you can't, you just can't prosper.
Right.
And so education is where it is, and we're going to be better.
Right.
And because the community now understands that, I witness what we're about to go through here. But I think an opportunity for our kids and families to enjoy the absolute best education there can be would be my wish for the community.
I love that. And see, we hadn't even touched on education or healthcare, because I know healthcare, you're a big advocate, and
It's another cornerstone.
That is another. Well, yes, I know that you and the foundation have been instrumental with the Midland Behavioral Health Center that's being built. They've already broke ground.
Oh my gosh!
You can see the building back there behind Wagner Noel.
Yes,
that's
it
exciting.
is a real building.
What is your hope for healthcare? Since we touched a little on education, where do you hope that goes in the future?
That we can grow just in the same vein as being a community with extraordinary resources, that we can provide in our community the quality and the quantity of services that people need. That there might no longer be a need to always go out of town to find the doctors, the service, the care that you need. And there's a certain level of inertia that has to be there. There are certain sizes to get to some of that, but we've overcome that in so many ways, so many areas already. We can do that in healthcare, and we're working, and there are people at work in the community to make that happen now. So that was a vision that on those 2 cases, education and healthcare, that you provide those, and all of a sudden Midland literally becomes a place where that really might not be a bad place to live, instead of sometimes a place that you get sent to work for a few years and then get transferred. But I think the younger people here, I'm hopeful, and I see possibilities that this happens, that in at the end of the 60s, a lot of people who moved away or were about to be transferred decided they were going to stay here because they liked it. They liked Midland. I think we're headed for another time where the young people that are populating the companies that are growing and developing this, they're going to stay.
I sure hope so. I really do. And that, as a parent, that's my goal and dream. I would love for our kids to come back someday after they go to college and to go to college here. I mean, there's amazing colleges here. And that is the goal. I mean, if we could get more people to stay, but I think you're right. They all go hand in hand, because if the education improves, the healthcare is going to improve, because more healthcare professionals are going to want to stay here because their education for their children is good. It all correlates.
It all comes together.
There's so much, synergy that is there with those cornerstones that you're talking about. And I love that has been a key component of your goals for our community with everything you've done with the Scharbauer Foundation.
Thank you. It drives a lot of things.
What do you hope your legacy is? What do you hope that when people go, oh yeah, I love that Grant Billingsley. But I remember this about him. What do you hope your legacy is?
That I never thought about that. I would hope that people would rely on communicating and about what's important, and find people of shared values and to do things that are important for the whole community. People that have community support and community interest in mind. Because a lot of people can come up with an idea, and a lot of people can do what they want to do. Mm-hmm. But the more people you find that can pull together, like I said, pull together in one direction for one project, you can get amazing things done.
I love that. And I think you've done that, and especially today, hearing everything you've said today. I mean, I feel like I've learned so much. So I can't wait to implement them in my life. So thank you for that. Now it's for some fun questions, Grant. I told you I was going to throw some fun stuff at you at the end. Okay. First one is a fun fact about you I would not know reading your bio.
Oh. Fun fact about nothing fun. I don't think there's anything fun about it. Oh, come on,
Grant. Yes, there is. Fun fact. We're on the fun fact, Al. Fun fact. We're going to learn about Grant.
There's nothing fun about me. I'm a Sooner. I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan. And
you're a golfer? Have you had a hole in one?
Golfer. I have not had a hole in one.
Me neither. I've
had several eagles
this year.
I've had several eagles, but I can't ever hit it off the tee and into the hole. Just the other day, I was able to make an eagle, and I thought, why can't I do that from the tee?
Right. Well, maybe now that you're going to be retired, you'll have more time to golf, and you're going to get that hole in one.
Eventually, I'm going to.
Lowest. Yeah. What's your lowest score?
71.
Oh, that's good.
You're
that's
good.
Great. That was good. Favorite course you've ever played?
I would say my favorite course was Harbortown.
Harbortown. Where's that?
Harbortown's in South Carolina, Hilton Head.
Okay.
At Hilton Head. It's not a long course, but it's hard and it's fun and it's beautiful. So that would be. I haven't played enough courses, but that's a favorite that I have.
What's your dream course then?
Dream course. Well, I'd like to play Augusta sometime. I would, of course, like to play Augusta sometime. You can't watch it you can't look at it on TV for 50 years and not want to go play those courses. I tried playing at one of those knockoff courses, the Legends course or whatever it was.
Yes.
Tour, what are they called?
Tour 18. Tour 18 in Dallas.
18. I went and did that one time, and I said, well, this ain't it.
This is not close.
This is not it. And so, but it was fun anyway.
Well, there you go. So if there's anyone out there that's going to Augusta and they'd like to thank Grant for his years of community service to our community, invite him to Augusta National. Yeah. I think that would be incredible. That's on my dream list too. Okay, ready? Favorite book?
Favorite book.
Yes.
Okay, now I thought about this one.
Oh, good.
Okay. So
you knew this was coming.
And in keeping, and it's one of my favorite books, and in keeping with our conversation today about Midland,
yes,
one of the books that I've enjoyed most reading is Jimmy Patterson's book called A History of Character.
Oh, he's so good. Yes.
The stories are short.
It might be up there.
The stories are short, and there's some pictures in it.
Yes. That's a good fast read. And anything written by Jimmy Patterson is good. It is so good.
And so that is a book that, for a lot of reasons. One, there's just wonderful stories. If you have any interest in Midland and the history of it, it's all in there. You can pick it up. You can just, you don't have to read it front to back. You can pick it up and let it fall open and read what you get and get a great story.
I love it.
That's a good story.
And he also wrote the Ali Sheba, which I think that's the one that might be in our little book pile over there, is the Ali Sheba, another great read. But I love that. See, I don't know if I've ever read it.
All kinds of great stories.
Yeah, so good stories, Midland. There you go. Two good ones written by Jimmy Patterson, who is an incredible author and wrote for our paper for many years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Okay, I love it. Favorite? Do you listen to podcasts?
No.
I was going to ask favorite
don't know how.
podcast.
I don't
so
know
your favorite
how.
podcast is the Krista Escamilla Show.
I will. I will
I'm
check
going to
this
show
one
you
out.
afterwards.
You'll show me how to put it
click
on
the
my
little
phone.
purple button.
Put it on my phone. Put
That's
it
right.
on my flip phone.
I will show you after this. All right, favorite coffee shop here in West Texas?
It's Far West.
Far West, gotta love Far West. Favorite restaurant? This is a tough one because I know there's so many great restaurants in West Texas.
Here?
Yeah, it has to be here. then you can tell me your other.
Venezia.
Oh, me too. I love Venezia's. Yes, we just ate there the other night. It's a staple. It's a
It
staple.
is. It
Okay,
is.
now elsewhere. You said where's your favorite in the whole world? You're going to go anywhere to eat.
Oh my gosh. It would be someplace in Austin. I can't pick one.
They're all too good.
They're all too
so
good.
just someplace in
Just
Austin.
someplace in
There
Austin.
you go. Favorite song?
I was thinking about that last night with Fran, and that was I don't. It's not a song that I hum a lot, but it's our song. It's the song that our friends and my song, and it's a song. Hello, it's me.
Hello, it's
Todd
me.
Rundgren.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yeah, that would be our.
I love that.
That would be our song.
I love that that's your song. And let's shout out Fran. How long have y'all been married?
This year it was 48 years.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
I love that.
Thank you.
What's the secret?
Better ask her. Patience. She would say it has to be patience, and just caring. I think.
Caring
Yeah.
about the other.
Right.
I love that. We're going on 25 years, so I always love to hear someone that has gotten to our goal, which is 48 and beyond. We want to go as many as we can. I always wonder, what is the secret? Because there's so
another
much.
one is don't always have to be right.
That's a good one. That's a good
It's
one.
hard
Yes,
for
we
me.
share that
It's
one.
hard. It's hard for me, but she is patient, and so
All right,
that's
good.
another one.
I love that. All right, favorite memory here in Midland?
Oh my gosh. I would say Jessica in the Well.
Yeah.
That incident, that accident,
Right.
focused so much attention on this community in such a positive way. It lifted up people all over the world.
Yeah, we watched. I wasn't living here. We watched in California. Yeah, everyone watched.
We were in New York one time, and I got in a cab. This was a long time ago, but we got in a cab, and the cab said, "Where are you from?" And we told him. He said, "That's where Jessica." And he knew, he went all on about it, and you just realized that captivated the world.
It did. What do you think it is? Because I think it was. Back then, that was before social media. It was, it was all over the news. I think that we were all holding on to hope all together collaboratively as a world, right?
Yes.
We just could not wait to see baby Jessica get pulled out. What would you say?
I think that's it.
And
it was just so many people doing so many things from so far away, and whatever could be done was being done.
Right.
I mean, planes were flying people in, and there was
Yes.
just people weren't holding back.
Right.
That was just an uplifting story.
I agree. And I think it shows the spirit of Midland and how we come together.
it
And
did.
can you believe it's been, is it 32 years?
Something like
I
that.
think it's like 32 years. Don't quote me on that. But
Yeah.
it's over 30 years. And still to this day, like you said, you go anywhere and people always go, oh yeah, the big Jessica.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay, favorite, how about favorite movie?
Lonesome Dove.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. So are you what?
What do you want me to say? Somebody told me I should say something silly
Oh,
because there are
no!
some silly movies, but I was
You could
cautioned
say-
not to say it.
You could say any movie you
No,
want.
Lonesome Dove is my favorite.
I never have
Lonesome Dove is my favorite.
I love it because I love to see what people love to watch. Because to me, I'm like, okay, he loves old westerns. Yes, he's loving
that
this.
was just a great
and it was a
story.
great movie.
Great
It was a
movie.
great
Yep.
movie. Okay, favorite. I won't ask you your Taylor Swift era,
Good.
but I will ask you for a life hack. Is there one life hack that you've had all these years that has just made your life easier? What would it be?
That's one I should have studied on. A life hack.
It could be anything.
Pray.
Oh, that's a good one. That's one of the best answers I've ever heard for a life hack. So good job, Chris. See, you didn't need to study. You had the best answer of them all, and it was just came out the first thing. And that's why I don't give you the questions ahead of time. I love a first thing that comes in your head. Pray, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything coming into today's podcast that you're like, you know what, I really hope that we could talk about it, or we didn't talk about, that you'd love to share, that is on your heart about your love for Midland and our community and where you've spent your career?
I want to give a shout out. So I talked about the change in our community with regard to younger population and how we're working on education, that sort of stuff. I need to give a shout out to the Permian Strategic Partnership and the people who came up with the concept, because it is so unique and so beneficial to our community, because here I am a former Chamber of Commerce person, and Chambers of Commerce serve so much good in so many communities everywhere.
Yes.
But I don't think I've seen anywhere an organization that is a single industry where competitors have decided we're better off working together than we are working against one another, where we have a shared interest in making this community better so that we can, for their benefit and everybody, make more money, be more successful. And what they've been able to do in the 5+ years now they've been operating, and what they've done for this community, just is another reason why the future is bright out here. That is an example of manifestation of collaboration in an extreme form that I haven't seen exist anywhere. And to have global competitors come together and say, we can agree on these things, and this is what we're going to go do, and we're all going to put our money in it and go get that done. That's just an incredible thing. So I would say to the people, I said, that's just another reason that I think the future is bright for our community in this region.
I could not agree more. That is such a gem in our community, because it touches on the cornerstones that you were talking about.
Absolutely.
With healthcare and roads and education, and if we can all come together and improve these, and that's what they're doing. The progress that has been made in 5 years. Imagine what it's going to look like in 10, 20 years. It truly is going to be amazing. So I'm so glad that you shouted them out, because they deserve it 150%.
Thanks for asking.
Yes. And also, what are you looking forward to most in retirement?
Seeing what it's like.
Because you've worked your entire life.
Well, I mean, everybody does.
Right.
Does. But people are saying, what are you going to do? I say, well, I'm going to take a minute and see what it's like, and figure out. I know I'll be busy. I'm pretty sure I'll be busy.
Right. I'm sure your phone will still be ringing with questions. Grant, can you help us out here?
And that's fine. That's fine. I've had some invitations to do some things, but I'm just going to take a minute and see what it's like first before I get into that. So I'm ready to start that.
Travel,
There will be some of that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Enjoy life. Well, you deserve it. We wish you the best. You are passing the torch to Mary Ann.
Yes.
And she will take over, and we wish her the best.
She's going to be great.
Where do you hope that the Scharbauer Foundation goes, say, 20 years from now? What would your hope be for them?
I would take the words Clarence Scharbauer III, the guy who hired me basically to start this. Early, like in year 4 of the foundation got an award as something philanthropic organization in the community or something for the year, and Clarence went and got the award, and he didn't choose to speak, but he did that day. And he went and he said, he thanked the people in a very short, concise thank you, and all he said was, you ain't seen nothing yet.
I love it.
And
he was right.
He was right. And
Boy, was he right.
And I want to think, and I do think, that still fits here 13 years later. You ain't seen nothing yet.
I love it.
So,
well, thank you so much for all
Sure.
you've done. This has been so much fun, Grant. I've
Well,
really
thank you.
enjoyed this.
Thanks.
I've loved getting to know you more and just to hear your stories. And I just can't thank you enough as a community member and a friend for all you've done for
Thank
West
you.
Texas. So thank you.
We're only one person, and it takes so many people to get stuff done. So it's just,
It does.
there's nobody,
Well,
nothing special.
Thanks for doing your part.
You're welcome.
It's been a
You're
big
welcome.
part.
Yeah.
I think that's it. In closing, do you have any questions, Al? We are going to wrap it up with a big thank you to all of you for listening. I hope that you have enjoyed this conversation as much as we have. I mean, I cannot tell you how appreciative I am of everyone in our community that sits here in this chair like Grant did today and shares their story, because we are all in this together. And as Grant said, nothing happens alone. So
That's
we are better together. And he is a proof with his career that we are better together and the things that you have done. So thank you so much, Grant, for being here. Thank you for listening, and share this with someone. Share this with someone that's new to our community, that maybe wants to learn more about Midland, that maybe wants to just find out a little bit about this gem that we have here in West Texas. And so I appreciate you hitting that subscribe button and sharing, and of all of our sponsors. So a big shout out again to Omni Midland Hotel, Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, Thin FR, Kevin Foreman Financial, and to joincapclub.com. We appreciate you supporting local. As always, you know my mottos. They're right here. You can't miss it. Dream big, believe, and never give up. Thank you so much for joining us, and you make it a great day.